And everybody, a round of applause for Jack. Jack is an amazing human being. I love this guy. I go to a lot of conferences in a year, probably 10 or 12 conferences a year. And LavaCon, when I have an opportunity to come, I always seize it because Jack does such an amazing job. Like, who does these great, cool, interactive things? I never see that at events. So let's do it again for Jack because he's awesome. So I realized that Jack just set it up that I'm going to be talking about customer success. And in preparing for this presentation last week, I started thinking about this. And it is true that customer success is an incredibly relevant and topical trend that needs to be understood. And it's also true that all of you here who are creating or managing content teams are vital and critical to the customer success department, which if customer success is a new concept to you, maybe you're not in software, it's something that has been pioneered in software as we've seen subscription-based business models come online. By the way, all companies will have subscription-based business models within the next 5 years. Even GE has subscription-based business models. Manufacturers have subscription-based business models. And the role of the customer success department is to make sure that the customer succeeds so that they renew their subscription. So one of the most vital, perhaps the most vital, I would say it's the most vital ingredient in customer success is the content that helps the customer to understand the product. And in preparing for this, what I realized was, there's something much more important than talking about customer success. So I totally changed my talk. We're actually not talking about customer success. Sorry, Jack. So what we're talking about is click once on the screen. You got it. Okay, I'm changing it here, but I'm not changing it on the main screen. Aha, I see. Okay, I think I got it now. All right, cool. Oh, in fact, this Power My Learning back here, please do sign that every 30 signatures, as Jack mentioned. But in addition to that, I was sitting here listening to Jack, and I decided that for every 30 signatures, I'll also buy a computer myself personally for Kids on Computers, which builds computer labs in third world countries. So I'm 100% doing that. I just thought about it's an organization like Power My Learning, but they build community centers that are technology enabled in third world countries like Mexico and other places. Not Mexico, third world, but bad areas around the world. Happens to be in Mexico too. All right, so we're not talking about customer success. What we're talking about today is this fundamental shift in buyers and customers' expectations. Because what has happened, and this is irreversible, this is irrefutable, this is undeniable, what has happened is we now live at a time wherein buyers and customers they require from the vendors they work with on-demand understanding. And what I mean by that is they no longer will be satisfied with being just a nameless face that's treated anonymously through an online call center or an online interaction. They expect that you understand what products they have, and on the flip side, and who they are and what their needs are. But on the flip side of that, they also expect that they're going to be able to quickly understand your products and services as well. You guys often will talk about this in terms of every page is page one, right? Well, that is a symptom of what our buyers and customers expect today, which is we now live at a time in which the minimum barrier to entry, the minimum barrier to be successful in business is on-demand understanding. Now, if you look back at where we came from, go back to when you'd go into Ace Hardware or your favorite hardware store, and you'd talk to this guy, Steve. And Steve was the guy who sold you your last pieces of hardware. He understood what your understanding level was of your home development projects, what tools he showed you previously. He understood who you were, and he could have a very high bandwidth conversation with you. So you would go to your local Ace Hardware to talk to Steve. Then we started buying things online. And suddenly that subject matter expert, Steve, was not the person that we could have a conversation with because he didn't know what you'd purchased. He didn't know what your understanding level was. So we started buying online, and suddenly we had this barrier between us and the subject matter experts that are these files, PDF files. or a call center where a support agent doesn't actually understand the products well. Then we transition to where we are today, which is everybody's using mobile devices. And no longer are these file-based that are pre-internet or call centers. Like, who wants to talk to a support agent? Nobody does. So we're in a new era in which people expect the content to be smart. Every page is page one. They expect the content to be exactly what they need delivered to them in a micro moment. In a micro moment that they could just, from their mobile device, run a search, probably from a search engine, find exactly the right piece of information. It's either text or video or image, but it's within just a moment's time because they don't have much time to do this on their mobile device. They're in between things, right? So in a micro moment, they need to get access to information to get understanding of what it is that they're trying to solve for. And a PDF file isn't going to do that, right? So this whole concept of a micro moment is not new, right? If you look at, Google's been talking about this for the last 5 to 8 years, and it's all about how mobile has changed how people's expectations are with brands. Now it's no longer, I'm going to go download a 250-page PDF file, or I'm going to call a support agent in a call center or file a ticket and wait. No, now it is the case that I'm not going to spend 3 hours, but I will spend 3 continuous hours. I'm not going to, but I will spend 3 hours or more if it's in a micro moment through a series of interactions that I don't even realize I'm interacting with the brand because I'm just running a search, right? So in addition to the requirement that this content be micro content delivered in a micro moment, look at all the millennials. Look at what they're using. Did you guys know that the chat client is now more commonly used than social networks? There are more daily active users in the world on chat interfaces than there is on social networks. All of your 20s and early 30-year-olds, all these millennials, look at what application interfaces they're using. They're not using a web page. They're using a chat client. So again, micro content. How are we going to feed these chatbots as they interact with people through the website or their mobile device? It has to be structured content that's micro content that can be delivered through a conversational interface in a chat client, right? And another kind of chat client that we've already seen is voice, Siri, Cortana, Alexa. This is no different than a text-based chat client. The requirements are the same. It needs to be micro content delivered in a micro moment to drive understanding so that the customer can quickly understand how to use the product. What about the Internet of Things? You guys have all heard about IoT. Well, I can tell you, I said earlier on that content is the new customer experience. That isn't just on the web, that isn't just in mobile, that's inside the products that people buy. So this micro content needs to be delivered across the Internet of Appliances or the Internet of Devices that people have purchased so that they don't need to pull out a chat client or a Google search box to find the right information. You need to deliver it to them in context. Raise your hand if you've ever had an error code, a symbol on your printer or your card and said, what the hell is that? Raise your hand. Everybody raise your hand because you all have had this, right? Then you're like, oh, I'm going to pull out my user manual in my glove box. What do I search for this weird symbol? Is it in the index? I don't know. What do I Google for, right? Why, when all of these things are internet connected, aren't we delivering exactly the right piece of micro content? You guys already have the content structured in your XML repositories. They're all topic-based. So that content already exists today, but when we publish it out online, we lose that granularity. So this shift is absolutely undeniable. It is irreversible. It is unchangeable. And if you just look at some of these stats, so who doesn't use a search engine when they're researching to make a purchase? Raise your hand. What's the first place you go to when you have a product question with a product that you've already purchased? Do you go to whirlpool.com? Of course not. You go to Google. You run a search. So notice also that 72% of buyers will only work with vendors that publish their product documentation online. 3/4 of the population who go to make a purchase will not work with vendors that don't publish this kind of content online, or they can't find it. And then 76% of buyers would rather search online than do a call. Look at the look beneath that stat, underneath 3/4, underneath 76%, what do you see? 33% said they would rather clean a toilet than wait for support. So you get the idea, right? This is irreversible, this is unchangeable. People expect a new level of understanding when they interact with brands. It needs to be delivered in a micro moment, it needs to be search friendly, it needs to be mobile friendly, it needs to be micro content delivered in these small moments, right? So for you can be absolutely certain that there's going to be winners and losers in this. There's going to be companies that don't rise to the occasion and they will go out of business. But let's take a look at some companies that are rising to the occasion. Cisco Meraki. They took this approach down. I'm not sure if Cisco Meraki's here. They might be. If they are, talk to them. Some of these customers might be here, or some of these companies might be here. But they took this approach of micro content, layering it across the entire customer journey, both web, mobile, in product. Went from 2,000 daily active users to 16,000 daily active users, from less than 2 minutes time on site to 11 minutes time on site. Think about all of the valuable insights about their buyers and customers that they're able to pull back from that experience. Whirlpool. A year ago, they undertook a huge change. They recognized that they were struggling to understand their customers, struggling to understand their buyers. So what they did is they deployed this approach to delivering micro content over the customer journey, using content as the customer experience. And in less than a year, they've more than doubled their total daily active users. So they've more than doubled their web traffic, their interactions with their brand. And on the back end, they're building all these insights about, hey, which products or features are favored in Omaha, Nebraska versus Beaumont, Texas. Samsung, very sophisticated, forward-thinking company, as you might imagine. However, they used to publish, just 2 years ago, they were still publishing PDF files online. They were still used pre-mobile knowledge bases. So they undertook a massive strategy to take all of their content and put it into a new way of delivering content across the customer journey to drive the user experience inside of their products, as well as the customer experience through all of the interactions online. The companies that don't understand their customers will fail. They will go out of business. Companies are going out of business faster than ever. Companies are becoming unicorns faster than ever. So what do the winners have in common that are succeeding in this new climate? It is consistently the case that they're creating a Steve experience, but they're doing it with all of the content that you're creating. So all of you here are probably the most strategic asset that any of your companies have, and most of your companies don't even realize it. You are the most strategically important part of how companies build understanding with their buyers and customers. You drive the brand engagement if you use the content correctly. So by building this experience in which your content is going to double or triple the website traffic, you're creating brand engagement that allows your companies to build valuable insights. Valuable insights that inform everything from product strategy to marketing strategy to sales execution strategy. And it's all through the customer data that your content can deliver. When I talk to people at, whether it's like the chief customer officer at Accenture or the head of digital at Electrolux, they think about the content that is product documentation and help content as a cost center. Oh, it's a cost center. We have to do that for legal compliance reasons. We have a product definition that's referenced in the warranty. All you have to do is show them how your work drives massive increases in web traffic, and if you structure it correctly, helps them understand how to sell more product. What if you went into your chief customer experience officer and said, hey, look, what if I could double our website traffic and increase our time on site by 5x? And then on the back end, we can build out a whole rich set of intelligence and analytics. He would probably think you're full of it, wouldn't he? The fact is, the content you're creating today actually can do this if you structure it correctly and publish it correctly online and be smart about it. You have the potential to be the #1 revenue and traffic generator for all of your companies. So this provides you on-demand understanding of your buyers and customers, and it provides your customers that every page is page one experience. So when you think about this, think about taking your content from a pre-internet experience, right? Are you guys still putting up PDFs? Is that where your content goes to? Is it static HTML? Okay, so now you went from pre-internet with PDF files to static HTML, which means, okay, you're the internet in 1999. Congratulations. You need to think about your content as smart content. You're already thinking about that when you author it because it's topic-based, right? You're already thinking about how do I structure it in a semantically rich hierarchical information architecture that helps me to think through how to manage it, and my customers, like the coverage for my customers to make sure I've got good coverage. But then you go and publish it and it's a pre-internet or a pre-mobile experience. Meanwhile, you've got 5 other departments recreating the content you've already created. So think about it in terms of smart content. So what I mean by smart content is, and Ari will be talking about this in another session later on today. If you want to go to Ari Hoffman's talk, he'll go deeper into this. But think about your content, how it will, if you do it correctly, double, oftentimes triple the website traffic, period. Think about how your salespeople require this content in order to get deals done. And if you're not giving it to them in a format that they can consume it, they're going to go recreate it themselves. And then, of course, through the success cycle, right? You have a customer support team that costs a significant amount of the company's expense just to support the customer, and yet they're recreating all of your content in a knowledge base. So if you deliver this as smart content, where it's ready for this new era of developing understanding for your customers, buyers, and for you of them, what you will be able to do is to build a rich set of analytics. A rich set of analytics that says, hey, if my sales team is selling to somebody who's in automotive and it's a VP of operations in Indiana or in Indianapolis, what is the exact map of micro content, as you guys think of it, topics that they need to consume during the sales cycle to get them to buy? How many of you know the exact map of content that your customers need to consume during their ownership cycle so that they renew or upsell? This is easy stuff to get access to. There's one. Oh, I know why, you know. So that's exactly what we're talking about here. This is about building insights. This isn't about just throwing content over the fence. You all are the most strategic person at your companies. So 75% of buyers utilize online source when beginning product search, primarily through search engines. I mean, what's the other 25% doing? Do they not have internet access? They're all using Google search to make product purchasing decisions. Then notice 70% of people going through a buy experience, they require this information. 3/4 of salespeople require product support, product content and support content to close a deal. The other 25% probably aren't closing deals. And then, of course, 100% require this content during the customer success cycle, the customer ownership cycle. So if you want to learn more about MindTouch and what we do, obviously it overlaps with this, but Ari's got a talk he's giving. And this does, what I'm talking about here maps to every single industry, right? The fastest growing companies the last 5 years, Zora, Docker, Zenefits, Domo, Sprinkler, all of the software unicorns, they're all doing this. This is what's fueling their growth. And then older brands that are reinventing themselves, Accenture, Whirlpool, Electrolux, Remington, they're doing this as well. And it's driving measurable, meaningful benefits. Look at this. If I went into your toy store, let's assume you have a toy store and said, hey, give me all of your product documentation, I'm going to double the number of people that come to your store, and they're going to spend 4 times more in your store. Would you do it? Of course you would. You'd be crazy not to. Oh, I've already got it sitting around. Yeah, of course I'll give it to you. And you're going to double the number of people come in, and they're going to spend 4 times more time in here looking at my products? What do you think that's going to do to your conversion rates? You're going to have more people buying from you just through pure brand engagement. So if you think this is ridiculous, inconceivable, impossible, you're wrong. So SolarWinds is here. I was at a conference earlier this year, and I said, hey, look, you can expect if you think about your content and deliver it in a smart way, in a smart modern way, you can expect to double your website traffic and 4x your engagement. And right in the middle of this conversation, there was like 600 people at this conference. A gentleman stands up and says, your stats are completely wrong. And I'm like, really? He's like, yes, I'm from SolarWinds. I'm the VP of customer experience at SolarWinds. I'm like, oh shit, he's a customer. He says, it's wrong because you said it's 2x and 4x. We've seen 8x and 20x. So you all are the most strategically important asset at your companies. Act like it. This is a wake-up call. If you'd like to learn more, talk to Ari. Please sign. 30 names over there is going to go 2 computers. One for Power My Learning, one for Kids on Computers. Thank you all. Thank you, Jack.